Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 127 of the longest tenured Denver Nuggets spin-off podcast in the world. Welcome to the DNVR Nuggets' Serbian Corner. My name is Miroslav, and before we begin, please let me remind you to like the video on YouTube, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the DNVR Sports YouTube channel and DNVR Nuggets podcast channel. The audio version is perfect for your commute or to make your office/home office time more bearable. If you want to support the show more directly, you can become a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/MiroslavCUK, just like my Sicko tier supporters Peter Plummer and Daniel Lynch. Okay, let's recap the week behind us quickly. We've had 3 games, 3 wins. Awesome. First, the Miami game. The game at South Beach was just what the doctor ordered. Nikola Jokić and Aaron Gordon returned after missing a game versus Houston, and the Nuggets kept playing the same 5 starters: Westbrook, Murray, Braun, Porter, and Jokić. This is mostly due to Gordon's minute restriction, but I really liked how their bench minutes looked with Aaron in them. Jamal was once more taking and making tough shots. Jokić had a triple-double, including a signature no-look over-the-head pass to Gordon. Mike was struggling to hit anything inside the three-point line, but he did hit his threes. Julian and Christian were mostly solid in their minutes. The Nuggets had a 12-point lead at the half, and we know they have a perfect record when they have at least a 1-point lead at that point, and kept those 12 points up after the third quarter. This is when the biggest stretch of the game started. Aaron, Jamal, and Mike, together with Julian and DJ, not only saved the advantage, they extended it to 20 points, so Joker and Westbrook didn't have to play in the fourth. There's something about that Gordon, DJ, big guy lineup that scares other teams out of the paint, and it has worked very well so far. Next, still in Florida, the Magic game. Right before the end of the first quarter, Julian Strawther was shooting a corner 3, but Trevelin Quinn flew in and blocked the ball enough for it to hit the side of the backboard and go out. Here's when it becomes interesting. Trevelin immediately points out that the tips of his fingers touched the ball because he wanted to be credited for a block. That was a great team move by Trevelin. And despite all that, the refs are oblivious enough to rule the ball back to Magic. The hero of this story, Trevelin, realizes that getting a possession might be viewed as a better thing by the fans than him getting credited with a blocked shot, so he overturns his own ruling and now agrees with the refs. Meanwhile, Michael Malone screams at the refs in disbelief at what's going on and gets warned he'd be fined for the delay of the game. No challenges allowed. Incredible stuff. An incredible show, Trevelin. I'm just going to give you some other random notes from this game. I love the fact that Russ and AG used the glass for some of their mid-rangers. Also, watching Nikola Jokić catch the insane Westbrook passes is pure joy. Also, I love Mike's touch around the rim. Also, Jamal started slow but dominated late. Also, I still don't trust Strawther as a shooter. This is what I noticed back then after that game. I love the size of DJ's screens. That's another random fact. Pickett is cool as a cucumber. He just hit that one 3-pointer he had to hit in the garbage time. Also, Denver benefited from Banchero's 4 of 16 night. Yeah, I'm a hater. He should have played for Italia when he promised he would. Another win, another fourth quarter without Joker and Westbrook. Finally, last night, 76ers game. My first... I have no notes here. This is crazy. So basically, last night, it was such a wonderful blowout. The Sixers played without Joel Embiid. What? Really? He didn't come to Denver? Yeah, and they had all of their guys. They just played horribly. They didn't try on defense. They didn't run in transition defense at all. Denver was just finding easy cuts all night, and everybody was really good. Nikola had a triple-double in 3 quarters again. Jamal was really good as a facilitator. He didn't need to push the envelope at all. He only had like, I don't know how many, 8 shots from the game. Christian was great with 20 points. Julian Strawther was great. Off the bench, I believe he had 23 points. You can see I have no notes here. But basically, it was a really easy and nice win with Aaron Gordon with 19 points off the bench, 3 of 3 from the 3-point line. Just a beautiful game. I'm going to leave a note here. Miroslav, next time, make notes for all the games. Okay, that's enough of a recap for this week. And I'm going to introduce my guests for today. My first guest is my fellow Gen Xer. Yes, Jeff Morton, you're not the last one. He is an artist, or an artiste, if you will. He is a brand designer and a partner at ALLCITY, which technically means he could kick me off these airwaves if I don't behave today. He is Serbia's son-in-law and Colorado sport sicko tier diehard. It's my good friend, Eric Weedum. Sorry, man. I've been watching Rocky movies for the past week because I've been sick at home. So yeah, I might be using my boxing announcer voice too much today.
I like it. I'm not going to lie to you. I like it a lot. Question for you. So when is the appropriate time to take down Orthodox Christmas decorations? I can't help but notice your tree still up.
Yeah, you can see it. I don't think. Yeah, probably everybody could have seen it. Yeah, here's the thing. So we were supposed to take it down after Serbian New Year on the 14th. It's just that my wife is also sick, so we're both kind of like in bed all day.
Okay, here comes the excuses.
Yeah,
I was just looking for.
It's just
when is it like? When does it become socially irresponsible to leave it up? Like, are we into February?
That's very fair. Yeah, I think February 1st is a cutoff of it being really gross. Yeah, same
Okay.
like with putting the Christmas tree on like November 1st. That's also gross.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. There's a time and a place, and we are rapidly approaching the end of that place and time.
Yeah. Well, I will try to take the tree down before Easter. So, because I don't want kids to get mixed feelings about those two things. Like we should have some separations between the biggest holidays there is. Okay, I have one question for you, Eric, before we introduce my second guest for today. And you travel to the motherland often, collecting those VIP Turkish Airlines miles. Mm-hmm. Tell me the most difficult thing about those trips, and why is it the breakfast with me every last Monday of the trip?
Well, I'll say that I've become like a professional traveler. Like I have such a routine down that it is I get situated in, I have like my bag that has my this and my that and my adapter. And like, I've got all of my things. And then it just becomes a waiting game to see if I have somebody next to me or not. So I can do the full man spread. If I can do full man spread, no issues. If I get cramped, I mean, I'm not the smallest guy. Like, so if I get like crammed in the corner, it's like fine, but you get to a place where you just have it like, it's like a day, like I'm like, okay, from the first 2 hours that I get on, I'll get on, I watch a movie, then I get my meal served to me. Then I try to sleep for like an hour or two. Then I watch another movie, and then I usually finish off the plane ride by playing like video games. And so it's like your stupid work day. Like you can sit in a chair for your stupid work day for that amount of time. And if you just like get into that line of thinking, and then it's like whatever. I'm just like sitting in a chair. I'd be sitting in a chair no matter where I am.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, but how do you manage the time distance? Do you do you live on Denver time or on Belgrade time?
Yes, that's the catch, is that like I still have to work when I go because I can't take off this exorbitant amount of time in the pursuit of love. However, noble that might be, it's like bad for the bottom line. So I have to actually work when I'm in Serbia. So yes, I stay on Denver time the entire time. So I'm like up at like, I go to bed at like 9 a.m. and like wake up at 1. And then Christina like shows up and brings me breakfast in bed as the sun is setting. It's quite stupid, but you know, it's worth it. It's worth it.
So basically, when you're in the plane, you're like George Clooney in Up in the Air, like the perfect traveler, like with perfect moves. Every move is calculated so you don't lose any extra seconds at the airport. And then when you come in, you're like Robin Williams. Oh, sorry, Al Pacino in Insomnia. Like,
yeah, yep.
No real sleep for you. Yeah,
that's exactly. I having not seen that movie. Yep, that's right. Yep.
okay. Recommendation nation for myself. So go check that one out. Okay, my second guest for today is a guy Eric sees often, too often probably. He is also an artiste and somebody who appreciates the top quality of Kodak photo films. This is not a paid ad. I work for Kodak, so I can say that. He is a skier and a technical leads producer at the DNVR Sports. My good friend, Kalle Sorbo.
What's up, Miro? Eric, I see you every day, so hi.
Yep.
Are you on the same floor?
We are,
right?
yeah. We're like 3 rooms away from each other.
So basically, you're like Nuggets media and 76ers players last night after the horrific loss.
I could yell, I could start swearing loudly and Kalle would hear it. Yes.
That's perfect. Please don't take my show off that quickly. So Kalle, when we were together last year at that frozen lake up in the mountains, we saw those mother and baby moose. You took some great photos just before we were scared for our lives when mother cut off our escape path to our car. What was on your mind that day? Was it like, these photos are going to be great and I'll totally not give them to Miroslav ever?
It's honestly like I have this problem where I go and I shoot like a ton of pictures and I shoot everything raw because I'm like a real photographer and I want to get in and edit stuff.
Photographer.
Yeah. And then I get busy and they just sit in my Lightroom for like a year until I finally get around to editing them. And that I don't really have a good reason for that. It's just an unfortunate thing I do.
So they're still not done.
There's a Lightroom library that is sitting with a bunch of raw photos from that day. Yes.
Well, we'll see. I'll give you another chance to give me something this April. I hope so. By the way, if you want to support Mile High Miro Part 2 this April, you can do it the easiest way, just by becoming a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/MiroslavCUK. And it will help immensely. Another expedition to Colorado from my behalf. Okay, guys, let's dive into basketball. First, let's start with last night's game. Do we have any hangover takes from last night? It was a really, really dominant win against the lousy 76ers. Let's start with Kalle because we didn't get to hear you enough last night.
Man, what are my hangover takes from that game? That was the worst defensive performance I think I've ever seen a team put on in my life. It was truly laughable. No, my biggest takeaway right now is just the boys are balling. Like they're playing real team basketball, which is perfect for the Nuggets. It's Nuggets basketball where I think there were a ton of comments last night still trying to bring Jamal hate out because he only had 9 points last night. And when I went back and watched the game, I thought Jamal had a great game. He just played in his role. Russ was cooking more in that point guard position, so Jamal was playing more off ball. He had some incredible passes. That swing pass to P-Watt after P-Watt had that insane block was brilliant, and he's moving really well right now. And I think that's my biggest takeaway is they've been able to balance the sort of Russ Jokić games and the Jamal Jokić games really well in a really unselfish way. When Jamal has it cooking, Russ sort of steps back. And when Jamal is hitting a shot, but Jamal's game relies more heavily on a diet of really tough contested shots. And so when they're not falling, I think it's actually a huge benefit that the Nuggets kind of have this other pivot to go to. And Jamal's totally happy just being a facilitator in those situations. And vice versa with Russ. When Jamal has it cooking, he just feeds him. And so that balance of it being so unselfish and them just sort of playing whoever has the hot hand that night, nobody seems to be mad. Mike doesn't seem to be mad about it. Jamal doesn't seem to be mad about it. They're just playing really well. And then obviously the other takeaway is just how absolutely game-changing Aaron Gordon to the bench has been. He runs everything. I mean, we've been joking that the only thing it took to fix the bench is 3 max contract players. But it's really true.
We are
really
gonna
true.
talk. We are gonna talk about that extensively today. I think. Yeah, great summary. D-Line, do you have anything more to add to Kale's great takes on last?
I mean, not really. It's just there's just like such cohesion with the Denver Nuggets right now, and it's like not. It's becoming that mode of play where you're not focused on any one player. You're just focused on the ball finding its way to the basket, however efficiently and like easily you can. And it's like they're finding. I mean, they scored 144 points last night. It's like difficult to really put too much into that. That to me, that game was more about just what the absolute dumpster fire that the 76ers have become. Like even culminated by them apparently having a screaming match in the locker room after the game. Like I can't imagine what it's like to be carrying the Sixers banner right now. That's got to be miserable. But that coincides with the Nuggets figuring it out too. So that's what you're getting is absolute bludgeoning of an opponent.
Yeah, the Sixers are in a bad space and in a bad place, but you don't get like a 35 points win unless you are also rolling on your side of the ball. So yeah, I think it was a really good game to be the last game before my show. So I really appreciate that, Nuggets, and I really appreciate it, Sixers as well. Thank you deeply. Okay, let's take one short break, and then we'll go into some big takeaways from the last week. Don't go anywhere because it is time for me to talk about Empire Today. If you need new flooring, you don't need to look any further. So many people already enjoy Empire Today floors. I've personally been to several houses in Denver that have Empire Today floors, and also the floor on the top floor of the DNVR bar as well. It's just beautiful. With Empire Today, you get shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a price match guarantee. Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring. So, of course, they have copycats, some companies that will use phrases like lowest prices in the market. That's because those companies are trying to sell you floors they wouldn't put in their own houses. Empire Today will never do that because they respect their customers. Their philosophy is not to help you find what you need and not overwhelm you with thousands of choices and substitutes. Nobody can beat them on quality, service, or speed, so they use their virtual floor designer is a great way to see how new floors will look in any space. Flooring is all Empire Today does. They live and breathe flooring, so you can be confident you're getting honest, upfront advice. Empire Today service their own warranties. If an issue does arise, just call them. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code DNVR. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/DNVR for details. That's empiretoday.com/DNVR. Okay, we are back. And let's start with something that I found really interesting, and it's the fact that the Nuggets are now 5-0 with Aaron Gordon playing since his return to action on January 12th. They did lose that game against Houston, but Gordon wasn't there, and also Joker wasn't in that game as well. So on one hand, he has a minutes restriction, which was the easiest to manage with him playing off the bench. But on the other hand, Aaron proved once more he's a true Mr. Nugget and accepted the role without any additional questions. The non-Jokić minutes look amazing since, and it's not only about him. It's him and Jamal, and usually Porter too. Malone staggers his starters more than ever. Are we really there? As Kalle mentioned, was it just the 3 max players needed for the Nuggets to survive the non-Jokić minutes, or do you expect more trials and tribulations going forward? Let's start with Kalle again.
I think at some point you do have to, maybe not permanently, but at least get some run with Aaron Gordon in that starting unit, because depending on the matchup that you're going to have in the playoffs, it's going to be important that AG and Jokić defensively at least can get back in a rhythm there. Aaron Gordon's so important to that back line when you have big bodies on the floor. But like you said, this is sort of unlocked rotations in a way that we haven't seen in the Malone era, which has been really incredible. And my biggest takeaway from that is AG's kind of playing that point center role off the bench, kind of just like Jokić does. He plays big. He runs the ball from the top. He's an amazing playmaker. And he's gotten better playing outside when they, force him out. And he's hitting his 3-ball at a rate he never has in his life. And so he's kind of turned into a mini Jokić on that bench unit. And with bench players from the other team, Aaron Gordon is just way better than them. And so it really just lifts the floor.
The original idea, I believe, from Calvin Booth this summer was to bring in Dario Saric so he could emulate Nikola Jokić with the bench. But it turns out that Aaron Gordon already knows how to play that role, and he's a way better player at this moment than Dario. So I guess Dario will still get his chances if Nikola is not available for games, but I just can't see him be like a backup 5 again when you have the option at least of playing AG next to DJ and just crush other teams' backup units with that. What do you think, D-Line? Did we lose?
Oh man, yeah, you talking to me? All right.
Yeah.
I'll give you my. Am I coming through? Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I'll give you my. So I feel like this is kind of one of these things where it doesn't totally matter who starts; it's who finishes. And I also think that the Nuggets would have gone 5-0 with Aaron Gordon in any, like if he was in the starting unit, if he was in the backup unit. I mean, they're just like so dominant, and I'm like really anxious to see what it looks like to have Russell Westbrook be the 1, Jamal the 2, so on and so forth, with Aaron Gordon as the starting lineup. I mean, I think it's basically going to be the Nuggets version of the lineup of death. So I don't think it matters that much. Like what you said is true. They're just kind of mixing and matching and having all of the starters on the floor where we're not fully reliant on the quote unquote backup to carry the weight of the team, but it really is at some point, some starter is there to shoulder the load. And then you can see what it's doing to Julian Strawther. You can see what it's doing to Peyton Watson. You can see what it's doing for all of these guys. Like everybody is playing with confidence right now. And it's just like, I don't think the Nuggets can mess this up is the best part. Like, I think that they just have enough good players that they can sort of mix and match and find solutions regardless of who it is that they're going against. They have enough versatility in their lineup now, particularly if Julian Strawther is for real and he's going to start hitting 3-pointers this clip, like that changes everything for the bench also. So it's like, I don't know. It's like any which way you win at this point. Like the Nuggets are just like cruising. Everything's working for them.
My big takeaway at this moment is the Nuggets really look amazing when everybody is healthy and Jamal looks good. And both of those things are right now. And it's just that they
Yeah, I'm
don't
looking
have
at the
the
same thing.
luxury of losing a starter like Boston last year when they lost KP and still won a championship with him all playing in very few playoff games at all. So the Nuggets don't have that luxury. I still think that they should have kept KCP and have one more capable body on their roster. It would be safer for them. I'm not saying that would be a guarantee championship, but they still feel to me a guy short to be able to cruise for the next 3 months before the playoffs and have everybody ready and healthy for playoffs because somebody's going to get hurt again. I mean, that's just like the normal stuff in the NBA. Kalle, what do you think about the depth of the Nuggets right now?
It's weird because going into the playoffs, I feel really good about it because their top 7 I would put against anybody's. And you're really going to be only in a 7, maybe 8-man rotation come playoff time. But to get through this regular season and stack some wins towards the end of the season, I do think there's one move you probably need to make for a rotation level guy. I don't expect a big swing like a Zach LaVine trade or anything like that nowadays. But I would expect a move on the margin to bring in another guy who can eat up some minutes. I like the Chris Boucher idea a lot. That everybody's been sort of talking about. I think he's just a playable big that you can bring off the bench. And if he plays with everybody gets better when they play with Jokić. So I would really like a move like that so that you have 8 guys that you really, really feel solid about on both ends of the floor. I've really loved what I've seen from Julian lately, but he's so bad on closeouts on the defensive side of the floor that I do think once you get to the playoffs, he might not be playable. So having another big come in that I would like to see one sort of margin move made heading into the deadline.
What about you, Dylan? Would you like to see a move?
Yeah, the thing. I'm sorry if I'm talking over somebody. My internet is like clicking in and out. Hopefully, I'm clear to you guys. But like,
It's fine.
the crazy thing is that nobody counted on DeAndre Jordan being an actual playable center in the year 2024, 25. Like, he's actually part of that. Like that's actually the Nuggets have 9 guys right now. They have the starting 5, if you include Russ as one of the starting 5 and AG in the starting 5. Then they have Christian, Peyton, Julian, DeAndre Jordan. And that's probably enough to get it done. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they made a move, but I certainly don't think they have to. And I wouldn't mind if I mean, I think everybody feels like they wish that Zeke Naji was playable at all because it like really messes with people's minds to know that there's money going places where it's not being used. But it doesn't matter. Like, because we were able to get Russell Westbrook for the price that we did, it kind of nullifies almost all of the other financial sins that have been created and committed. Because at the end of the day, it's like this money, there's no like ultimate value to the contract. It's just like, how can you have this amount of money and build the best team with it, right? And like, people get really mad at the idea that Jamal makes a max and he's not playing up to it, and Michael Porter Jr., whatever. And it's like, it doesn't, you have to just don't worry about it. Like, it doesn't matter how much they make. It just matters, is the team able to win? Is the team able to get it together and play well enough to win basketball games? And I think a resounding yes is the answer to that. So I wouldn't be surprised if they like got another Justin Holiday or somebody, like just kind of what you're talking about, to just like get them to the playoffs and then, finger crossed beyond. But it's like kind of like a buyout guy, and buyout guys are like the biggest tease in the entire NBA. Every year there's buyout candidates that happen and they go to the team. Like, you win the buyout market, we get Reggie Jackson, and it's like, cool. Our prize was that we had to sacrifice a pick to get rid of him. It's like, so I don't know, like, they maybe get somebody, but like, who cares? Truly, like, the Nuggets, all the Nuggets are good, man. They really are. Like, all the Nuggets again are good, with the exception of Zeke Naji, but it does not matter. All of the playable Nuggets are playable.
So Kalle said at the beginning of the season, and we made a lot of jokes on this, that the Nuggets have 9 real guys. It's just the trick was we didn't know that DJ is one of those 9
DeAndre.
real
Yeah.
guys. And I'm loving it, man. Like DJ is one of my favorite human beings I've never met. I wouldn't say I didn't meet him. He was at the presser, like 10 feet away from me. So I kind of think we know each other now pretty well. Okay, let's take one more short break. Then after that, we'll take a look at the starting lineup right now. Don't go anywhere. We are back. Wow, that was
I
a brief,
didn't think that would ever
brief
end.
break. I always say it's a short break and nobody believes me. So the opening night starting 5 was bad this season compared to previous ones. If you are only like +5 net rating with the net rating god in your starting 5, you're doing something wrong. And the wrong thing was Jamal having a horrible start to the season. And let's be fair, even Aaron Gordon starting the year slow because he was waiting a long time for that contract extension, stuff like that, particularly on defense. Now, Aaron Gordon gets injured and Westbrook enters the starting lineup, and they play great. Russ helps Jamal a lot, taking the burden of bringing the ball up off his shoulders and giving him more of an off-ball role. The Russ Jokić two-man game looks amazing, and Russ's assist to Joker rate is just incredible. He already has like 101 assists to Joker only this season. Jamal also benefits from the off-ball role as a floor spacer and a secondary ball handler. And then 5 games ago, Jamal exploded with 45 points, starting the streak of games in which Joker doesn't have to play in fourth quarters at all. We now have 2 two-man games, very different from one another, but teams are going to find it hard to guard both versions. How do you see those two-man games evolving going forward? Do you expect one of them to be dominant to the other? Let's start with Kay. Kay.
I think it's really just going to be sort of a night by night thing. I mean, they've been playing so unselfishly that I just think it's going to be part of, like if Jamal has it going, I don't think Russ is going to mind taking a step back. They've all been so unselfish. To your point, if you sell out to stop the Jokić Murray 2-man game, Russ is going to have free open lanes to the basket and be able to cut. And he's easily the most athletic guard Jokić has ever played with. And he's just going to spam that. And if you're crowding the paint to try and get rid of that action, Jamal has more space as a shooter. I love them playing together. I really do. Like, it's just all 3 of them on the court because it puts defenses in such a bind.
What say you, D-Line?
Yeah, I mean, it's just pressure on the rim, constant pressure on the rim. Where's it coming from? And we've already seen the two-man game, the traditional two-man game come back to life and be effective already in this 5-game stretch. I'll just put out, every time that I appear on any kind of show, I just want to put out another plea for everyone to put their spears down against Jamal Murray and like reassess who he is on this basketball team, because of how frustrating it was for the first part of the season to sort of feel like the time of Jamal Murray had passed. And, this like new hobbled, slow version was the version we were going to be dealing with moving forward. And that's just not the case. It's just he was clearly in pain and also not in shape. And both of those things seem to have been addressed. And now he looks dynamic again. And that is such good news for any Denver Nuggets fan, because Jamal Murray is going to be part of this team, whether it makes you crazy or not. And so, like, I find it nice and comforting to think the best outcome is the one that we are headed for. And all along the way, I would just look at Jamal Murray playing and I would just refuse to be out on him, because I just could see it slowly coming back. And it's there if you want to see it. And it was nowhere to be seen if you didn't want to see it. But like Jamal Murray being back means that they can do whatever they want. He and Russell Westbrook are great together because, yes, Jamal Murray has no problem finding the open man, hanging out in the corner, conserving energy, waiting in the wings until it's time for him to come out and just destroy people, like just hit you with the type of flurry that you would see from the Splash Brothers. And it's dizzying, and it like can disorient and disarm teams. And it's like a weapon that if you don't have to rely on it, and it can just be a sucker punch kind of thing. I mean, that's devastation to a team. So that's why I'm like, I just really want to get to the point where that, like, Christian Braun has moved out of the starting lineup, not because of anything he's done or is or isn't. It's just there's just such dynamic options when it comes to the two very distinct play styles of those two guards and like what they can do for each other. With Nikola Jokić, it's like, forget it, dude. What are you supposed to do?
It is, and just to piggyback on your take on Jamal and his health and his overall quality of play right now, we didn't know he's gonna come back. Let's be fair about that. And the reason why we didn't know that is because of the Nuggets, because the Nuggets don't share anything with their fans in regard of health and well-being of their players, and that puts unfair amount of scrutiny on players that are not ready to play at top speeds. And of course, the fans are gonna react to somebody who is playing on a max contract very badly, because nobody is saying, yeah, but guys, you need to wait because we are ramping him up. We need him to play this many minutes before he is ready to get his burst back, and he just dancing on the floor again. So it's fair game, as you mentioned before, and you mentioned that to me in our private chat a couple of weeks ago. It's just that we don't know stuff like that. We cannot be sure. But even the angriest fans, the fans who are angriest at Jamal, they're just Nuggets fans. They're just people that want their team to win. And this is a path they see there. If this guy is not playing well and he is paid a max contract, I need to remove that guy and put in somebody else who will be playing well. Unfortunately, the best case scenario is always to bring your guys back, because you don't want to make any bad trades going forward. Okay, I'm gonna share something with you guys. It's a secret, but I hope you can keep it between the three of us.
No chance.
And
this is definitely not live on the internet.
So just between the three of us, when I play basketball, I have two big flaws. I play no defense, and I don't rebound. Like, both of those things are kind of related to effort, but I'm not sure. Like maybe yeah, maybe not. Why I'm mentioning this? There is another max guy in this starting lineup who needs to contribute. And when you have the trio of Jokić and Murray and Russ all playing in sync together, you need to get enough production from Michael Porter as well, because he is a great player, and you need to figure out the way for him to score his 17 to 20 points every night. Because if he's not scoring, let's not kid ourselves, he's not a top-notch defender. He is a better rebounder than I am. I'll give him that. But you need to find a way for Michael Porter to be involved in the offense, because this is his strongest side of the court. How do you feel, Kalle, about Mike's fit in this new how do you call it? Triumvirate?
Yeah, triumvirate is triptych, triumvirate. Yes.
Yeah, between the three top guys.
I think it goes back to what D-Line was saying earlier about like just trying to shed that thought process of how much money every player is making, because Mike is so invaluable to the Nuggets as a spacer. Just even having him as that threat on the court completely changes the game. And when he does knock down his shots, which he does a lot, if he hits 3+ threes, I think the Nuggets win like 85% of their games when he hits 3+ threes. So it's just about him staying active, and he's gotten way better as a cutter, and he's really good about not just. I think young Michael Porter Jr. was really content to kind of just go sit in the corner and wait for the ball and let the offense sort of run around him. And he's so much better at moving and finding spots. So I think he's invaluable in that starting lineup, regardless of whether he has 6 points or 30. Like, to me, it's not the question of, oh, Mike's a max guy, so he needs to be averaging 20 points a game. Because if Mike was on Charlotte, he would be. He'd have 25 points a game, and it probably wouldn't be as efficient, and he'd be a max guy anyway. But he's bought into team basketball, and he plays however they need him to on any given night. And I love Mike.
Eric, do you think that Mike can benefit from the fact that his touch from the paint is amazing, more comparing to what he's doing now? Like maybe he should cut even more than what he is. We always say that we wish he would shoot 10 threes per game, but the Nuggets are not your average NBA team. They are not a team. Nikola Jokić will never allow them to shoot 63s in a game while he is on the court. He's not gonna pick that as the optimum kind of basketball. I'm just loving what I'm seeing from Mike when he's shooting from traffic in the paint. His efficiency is amazing over there.
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of think the same thing about Mike in general. You looked at it last night, like Mike wasn't the centerpiece. You wouldn't have guessed that he was with the max contract player, or one of the max contract players on the Denver Nuggets, but he hit like 3 threes, and the Nuggets scored 144 points. Like it's a machine, man. It's a machine, and there are parts of the machine that work at certain points and not at others. He did cut to the rim. I mean, obviously, like the Sixers weren't interested in providing any resistance in the paint at all, but he does that some games. He doesn't do it other games. It really is for all of these guys just figuring out how best to make the machine go. And then Michael Porter Jr., you always want him to be on his game when it comes from his first three-point shooting. I mean, that's where he's gifted in a way that, another tall guy who can just go in next to the rim, Wemby, can just like drop things in. Like he can rain like holy fire from beyond the three. And sometimes that's absolutely what you need. And sometimes it's like not. So it's just, I love the Nugget. I mean, it's, yeah, like Kalle said, team basketball. Like they're just playing team basketball, and it doesn't really matter where the stats are going, but they're just, the box score is just getting absolutely filled up.
Before we leave the Philly game, I just want to mention something. I love how wonderful of a season Tobias Harris is having on Detroit, and how horrible of a season Paul George is having on Philly.
Jesus.
It's like, guys, like if your guys are hated as much as Tobias Harris was, and then he thrives wherever he lands next, think about your culture, guys. Like it's such a
well, you gotta consider the culture of Philadelphia in this era has been built on the idea of just like getting rid of guys to get the next good guy. It's like losing guys, dumping guys to get draft picks so you can get the next good guys. It's like they're not looking to build around it. The only thing they found through the process was Joel Embiid, and it's like they don't like him. And he literally got in a fist fight with a reporter the other day, and it's just like it's built truly on nothing. Like I don't know what. I guess the TikTok guy, Jared McCain, that's going to be their savior. We'll see. I cannot wait until the city of Philadelphia turns on that guy. It is going to be horrible.
It's honestly not even fun for me. There are some teams that are funner to root against this season. The Philly is just sad. It is what it is. Okay, let's take our last break for today, and then we'll try to flash through 4 more players before Nuggets players before we go. We're not going to talk about Tobias Harris anymore, so don't go anywhere. Okay, we are back. Wow, that was quick again. So
That was quick. Wow.
Christian
fast.
Brown and Julian Strawther have had several really nice games recently. Christian scored
Boot
20
boys.
plus in 3 out of last 4 games, with 1 double-double in the process. And Julian, well, he had big games versus Miami and Philadelphia. I don't want to expand too much on the last games, but those two were really, really good from Julian. What are your predictions for these two youngsters for the next 3 months before the playoffs? Kay, what do you expect from Julian up until April?
Ups and downs, because he's a young player. You know, not every game is going to be like last night by any means. But what I like is how much more confident he seems to be than he did at the beginning of the year. He's very shot ready. He's got such a quick trigger, and when the ball swings to him, he does not hesitate to shoot. And I really like that. If he can be a 37 to 40% three-point shooter over the course of the rest of the season, that's really all I expect out of him. That's kind of all I want. I like his floater. I hope he becomes a little bit less reliant on it. Seems to be his break glass in case of emergency shot, and it's good, but it's not elite. So I kind of want him to tone that down a little bit more. But I just want to see him keep playing hard, keep being shot ready, and put in the effort to get better on the defensive side of the ball, even though that is definitely where his weakness is, and he'd be the first one to admit that.
Eric, what do you think about Julian? Do you think it's a coincidence he looks better now when the whole bench unit looks better? I think his confidence is just up, and he knows that if he is not the only option the Nuggets have with him on the floor, that he can play more freely.
Yeah, well, plus he's getting time with the starters, and he's just like, dude, like our young guys, not only they bring the juice, but they run off of juice. Like when the juice is flowing, when the juice is loose, Julian Strawther looks amazing. Peyton Watson looks amazing. All these guys, they're energy players, they're vibe players, and so the vibes right now are as good as they can get. And so it's not. I mean, it's because of them also, but it's just like a thing. Once there's no record scratch moments with these guys. I mean, Peyton Watson will still give you one every now and again, like a shot where you're like, bro, come on, no, that's not your shot, but everybody else is sort of like really doing that get in when you're fit in thing, and like thriving in a role that is a lot more defined and a lot more like I think that Julian Strawther kind of understands that he's going to get the ball in areas where he's able to just catch it and shoot it. And so his mind is just already there. He's not trying to just like figure it out on the fly, hoping maybe the ball comes to him. It's like more reliably finding him. So it's just, confident. We talk about it all the time. Confidence is everything in this league. Like all of these guys can shoot, obviously. It's just, can they shoot when they're also trying to figure out defense, where they're also worried about whether or not they're messing up the play, all of these like other things where their mind can just be quiet and focus on the thing that like got them to the league in the first place. Like Julian Strawther is an elite shooter, obviously. Like he just has, you can tell like the way he shoots it, the confidence he shoots it with, the speed at which he gets it up. He's played at in the biggest environments. Like he went to Gonzaga. That's a massive basketball school that plays big. Like I can't remember if they played in the national championship or not, but he got like good run in the tournament. So you get some feel of what it's like to play at the highest levels, and he's been successful. So it's like, why would you expect anything less?
Yes, and Christian has been amazing to start the season. Then he got into a little slump, which was basically mostly his three-point shot that wasn't going in for a while. And it's not like he's hitting threes in bunches now, but he just doesn't care about it. anymore. I feel like he is attacking the rim with a lot of ferocity, just like at the beginning of the season. And one detail I liked last night on the TNT's broadcast by Stan Van Gundy, who was saying everybody else, when they go on a fast break, everybody's trying to take the three in fast break. That's not the Nuggets. The Nuggets are running straight at the rim, old school. And yeah, we have CB, who is like top 3 in fast break points in the entire league, which is amazing thing for your fifth option in the starting lineup. Kay, do you expect him to stay this strong to the end of the regular season, or do you maybe expect him to have even a greater gear than this one?
I do think he has another gear to even go up, but his 3-point shot is going to be touch and go, and that's just kind of who he is. But I kind of don't care. I think him playing with Russ has been absolutely transformational for his game. The pace they play at when Russ and Christian are on the floor together, and they just run. They run and they tire teams out, and Christian sprints down the court and throws in some insane dunks. It's really fun to watch, and I want to see him do that even more. I think he's realizing how strong he is, and that he's not just strong enough to be an NBA player, but genuinely a real physical player in this league. And I want to see him kind of use that even more. His touch around the rim has been really good lately. It's kind of wonky, but it seems like it always goes in, which I'm super on board with. And I just want to kind of see him keep bullying people. He's so much stronger than most guards.
Yeah, and his minutes have been very stable, because I believe he's the only starter that started in all the games since the season started. So he didn't go to the bench at any point of the season. I'm not sure it's going to happen at all this season for him. So this gives him a big leg up against a guy like Peyton Watson. And Nuggets fans, for a good reason, have big hopes for Peyton Watson as a player this season as well. D-Line, how do you see or do you think if it's even related, the number of minutes these two guys play against each other?
Where they play with each other?
I mean,
a little bit, like,
if Peyton Watson can expect more minutes while CB is playing as many starter level minutes as he is right now.
I mean, why not? Like, I don't know. I honestly don't know how. I think that a lot of that is going to be determined by what they decide to do with the starting rotation, obviously. Like, whether or not Aaron Gordon, I mean, because right now it's basically a 1-for-1 with Aaron Gordon and Christian Braun, even though they play different positions. But I mean, I just know that the coaching staff is really feeling what the young guys are doing. Like, the leash has been taken off almost entirely from those guys, and they're getting real minutes, and they're getting consistent minutes, and it's building up and up. I mean, obviously, like, we're coming off of a couple of games that are just, against like very suboptimal and inferior competition. So like, all of the brights look so bright right now. The Nuggets just seem like they are unstoppable. It's not going to be like that every night, we know, but it's just, you also, in these games where they are laughers, you discover things when guys start playing without that fear of getting the hook, or fear of messing up and not being able to finish out the game, just having their minutes cut off. Games like this, where they're just kind of allowed to run free and play, and getting this level of success, it's like, it's only going to lead to a lot of that finding its way into the Nuggets' normal play, which I love. So it's just like, I don't know how you can, you would have to be at this point, like right now, you'd have to be the most like dedicated, miserable, angry fan to find any fault in what the Denver Nuggets are doing, because they're just rolling in a way that you're just like, this team's a juggernaut. They're like a juggernaut right now.
Yeah, and let's now take a look at the Nuggets schedule up until the All-Star break. They have 14 more games versus Sacramento, at Minnesota, at Chicago, at New York, at Philadelphia, at Charlotte, twice versus New Orleans at home, versus Orlando at Phoenix, twice versus Portland. There's a lot of these baseball series this season in the league, and then versus Charlotte and versus Los Angeles Lakers. Adam Mares asked the timeline, how many of these 14 games do we think the Nuggets are going to be favored in? My inclination is 11 or 12, which is pretty huge in a 14-game span. What would be your expectations from the Nuggets from these 14 games? Let's start with Kalle.
Well, first, I think they're going to be favored in all of them, which is kind of insane. I mean, there's not a team in there they shouldn't be favored against, especially if maybe,
at New York,
maybe at New York. Philly depends on if Embiid is playing.
Nah,
I really think 12-2, 11-3 over this stretch is completely not only possible, but probably should be expected. This is when the Nuggets need to stack wins.
Yeah, and Eric, before I ask for your idea what's going to happen, I have to warn you that that game at Phoenix at February 8th, that's going to be right around Phoenix winning another deadline, making the greatest move of them all. So what's your idea of what the Nuggets are going to do in the next 14 games?
Yeah, man, we're in the midst of what's going to be a massive run for the Denver Nuggets. We're like, they've never won 10 games in a row. I anticipate them changing that this year, them finally getting that 10-0 streak. Because what a ridiculous stat. They've won the championship, but they've never won 10 games in a row. Like, what is that? That doesn't make sense. And the difference between this year and last year is that the Nuggets there's still a lot of players that are trying to prove themselves. There's not a lot of complacency and championship hangover like we had a little bit last year. Not that was necessarily the full issue, but like, if you remember, right when they came out of All-Star break, like the Nuggets really kicked it into gear and they started kicking ass every night. And that's how they got to what should have been the number 1 overall seed. And they ended up tiring themselves out for it. But this year is like built on the idea that like the young kids and the guys that are just like or Russell Westbrook somehow, like an eternal engine, is able to find their way. And so there's most of the energy is coming from that. And so, man, I don't know. Like, I'm like, as I sit here, I don't want to go too crazy. I don't see a lot of losses on that sheet, man.
I would love for them to get to those 10 straight wins, mostly because, and I haven't mentioned this once this season, but I'm going to mention it right now. The MVP for Joker, I don't think he can win it unless the Nuggets go on a huge run and reduce that wins margin OKC have on the Nuggets right now. Joker is having an absolutely historical season this season, and if he is not getting any individual accolades for it, it's just going to be because the Nuggets are like 10 games behind OKC when it's all said and done. And you know what? It's fair game. Like if that's the margin, like you just need to give it to them. And they have a player whose per minute production is impressive enough to make it logical.
I mean, if they win 70 games, like, I'm not going to fight that. If the Nuggets win 55 and OKC wins 70 games, like no team has ever won 68 plus games and not had the MVP. So like, I get it.
Yeah, well, no team has had a guy who was top 3 in all the statistical possible
fair
areas for the entire league. So I don't know, man. Like, it's kind of a give or take. Before we go, just one quick question: Are you afraid for DJ's health, considering he's playing more and more minutes now that Joker is not playing in fourth quarters?
Not really. I mean, he was. This is D-Line's point, but he's so well conditioned. It's insane what good shape he's in for his age. and stage in his career. I really, a lot of that time is coming in garbage time too, when he's just kind of being a body on the floor. So I'm not really worried about it at all.
Yeah, he and Russ are like, they're like workout buddies. And if you're not worried about Russ's health, you shouldn't worry about DeAndre Jordan. So those two guys are like so gifted. Their bodies, their male form corner, their bodies are such a gift to them and to us. And they recognize what they have. They were gifted a dope Maserati for their 16th birthday, and they like kept taking really good care of it. They like wax it all the time. So yeah, man, like there's no need to worry until we see that there's a reason to.
Also, give those 3-4 minutes to Zeke as well. He's earned at least as many. Let's help out our guy 5555 ish to get a bit more minutes for Zeke.
That thing sunk. That campaign is over. That's a done. That's done.
Yeah. We'll see. Maybe if he plays for all 48 minutes in the last 10 games of the season, we'll see. Okay, that is all I've prepared for you this week, my dear listener. And please, with a cherry on top, take the word prepared very loosely. Be well, be safe, be kind to everybody. Call your mom. And until next week, Bruce Brown.